Hey guys, it's another video. I'm back. Hopefully you're back. Hello if you're new. So I'm back on track this week, you know, but this week I thought I'd go back to my Marvel series. So today's video is going to be the 2011 film Thor. So I'm gonna have to be brutally honest here. I don't really vibe with the first Thor. Actually, I just didn't vibe with Thor as a character for many years. Ragnarok is definitely where I was like, oh, I actually enjoy him as a character. I feel like his character didn't have a lot of substance. I feel like the writing for his character was a bit lazy. Like, they had so much potential with him being like a god, an alien, like, but they sort of went with the, oh, he's fit and also he's dumb because he doesn't understand like Earth's ways. And I feel like that was just the trope they sort of stuck with for a while until Taika came around and was like, I can make this character good. But this video isn't about Ragnarok, so I'll talk about that when it is about Ragnarok. Also, I can't concentrate with this film sometimes because why did they do Chris Hemsworth so dirty with his eyebrows? Like, they are so pale and it's so distracting. Straight off the bat, I need to say that this film does, while, you know, I don't personally think it's a very good film, it does have good bits, and I stand by the statement of even bad films have good parts, okay? So that fits with this film. So I need to just shout out the like space scenes and like the effects, and I don't know if I'm classifying the Bifrost as spacey, but you know, whenever the Bifrost, like, those shots are just wow. I love me some cool spacey themes, and like this film does just provide, you know? I am such a fan of Asgard, like the aesthetic, the like shots of it, the first show of Asgard and the like monumental music that they use. Oh my days, like that is a shot. I do love me a good aesthetic, and I really love the fact that like it's quite obvious that this is not somewhere that you can just find on Earth. Like, it's out there. It's very much like a, this is a planet of gold, here you go. And like, oh, we love the music with it as well. I just, that score does bits. Within the actual film of Thor, I feel like quite early on the sort of like family dynamic between Odin, Thor and Loki is shown. Like, you see it briefly in the, like, you get some context when they show the younger Thor and Loki. Also, that casting, spot on. But then you see it again when they show them as adults, and it's very much that like Odin and Thor are very like, whoa, I have opinions, hear me speak. Like, they're all out there, they're very much like, I am here, look at me, I am the king slash future king. But like, Loki is shown, he's quite observant, like he sort of watches and gets all of his information to use later, either like genuinely in a good way, or also, you know, he's the god of mischief, so to manipulate people. But he's very much a like, watch, see what happens, when can I swoop in, when's my moment. And that I think that sort of dynamic between all of them is shown quite well in the film, and quite early on, so you sort of get an understanding. You're like, oh, okay, so Thor's the loud one, Loki's the quiet one. Overall, I will give it this, okay, Thor's character does get a good sort of like development through the film. Like, he is definitely, he's shown in the first instance to be a hothead looking for a fight to prove himself. Doesn't really think, he lets his actions take over. Like, he's like, yeah, do you know what, I'm big and buff and I'm gonna show it. But as the film goes on, like, you sort of see his transition from action without thought to, okay, I need to figure out what the best move is here. And it does gradually show like, oh, okay, maybe he is starting to be ready to be king. It's also shown in this film that Loki's character has always been quite complex because he is obviously so different from his brother and his dad. And I stand by, I think he's one of those villains, because he is a villain in Avengers, but in this one it's more he's misunderstood, but it's because he's so, like, his whole world has basically been blown out from under his feet. So I think he fits into the category of villain because of other people's treatment. Like in this film he finds out he's adopted, but not only is he, oh actually I'm assuming he already knew he was adopted because he very much does not look like the rest of his family, but he found out that he was stolen from his birth parents, but also on top of that he's not actually Asgardian, he's a frost giant, you know, the species that they've been raised to see as monsters who need to be destroyed and are horrible, and they're the monsters under your bed. Like, that must mess with him so much. Like, his dad says he loves him, but yet he's raised him to hate his own kind. You know, I can understand why he goes a bit wonky, you know? This film, all the Marvel films, okay, have very good fight scenes, but this one has some good ones, even just generally, like, the big battle-y type ones, but even to, like, Thor fighting in the hospital. Like, they all give a little bit of, like, a shake it up. I need to say this, I need to say it. I love Darcy's character, okay? I vibe with her. I feel like I relate to her as a person. And also, she is definitely a kick-ass badass, you know? Like, and the fact that she tasers Thor really makes me laugh. Like, especially with him being, like, the god of thunder and all of that. Like, he can literally cast down lightning, but he got taken down by a taser. It's just irony and it makes me laugh. Another bit that gives me good vibes is when Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, that's me attempting to say it, I won't try that again, is just vibing in the desert, you know, chilling, and then all of these, like, dudes rock up and they're proper having a party, like them trying to pick this hammer up. There's, like, drinking, there's chilling, there's music, there's a barbecue. They're making a whole event of it. And also then them getting a truck to try and pick the hammer up and the truck just going, oh, phenomenal, incredible. One scene that I find really quite amazing, but not amazing like with like special effects or anything, just generally because of the acting, is when Loki eventually confronts Odin about, like, because he's just figured out that he's a frost giant, that confrontation, and he's like, I like the way that scene is acted, like, you can see the confusion and the distrust on Loki's face towards Odin, as Odin's like, you're my son, like, I love you, but Loki's like, but what, but no, like, you're lying, like that. It's just, Tom Hiddleston's acting in this scene is so on point, and it just so reflects that, like, Loki's got a lot going on. Like, he's not just he doesn't just turn into a villain for the shits and giggles. It's so difficult. It's so difficult because you know that Loki is out for revenge, and, like, this is technically, you'd probably consider it like Loki's villain origin story, but there's so much more to it. Like, oh my gosh, he's hurting, he's confused, he's upset. This is what I mean by it's complicated. Oh. I think they put more effort into Loki than they did with Thor, to be brutally honest with you. I also really have to mention, this is the one scene that goes through my head quite often, okay, is the iconic mug smashing scene where where Thor is like, finishes his coffee and he enjoys it and he goes, oh, what does he get? It's just another smash. Like, amazing. But this is where I think they should have ended it, with their whole, oh my gosh, he doesn't really understand how Earth's traditions work. But I will give them that. It is a very funny sequence. Also, him going to a pet shop and just going, I need a horse. And they're like, we have dogs, we have cats, we have rabbits, but no horses. And he's like, I need one big enough to ride. And it's like, bro, chill. The scene where Thor breaks into where S.H.I.E.L.D. have built their like tunnel system research area around the hammer, and he breaks in to like try and get it back. It's just so sick. Like, Thor is just fully a man on a mission. He's like, I'm gonna get my hammer back, we're gonna kick some ass, like I need to get back to Asgard, see what's going on. And just the way he takes everyone down, like, that is wow. And also, yes boys, we get a Hawkeye cameo, okay? I love Hawkeye, and the MCU did his character so dirty. So dirty. But that's all I've got to say on it right now, because this is about Thor, not Hawkeye's rubbish character development and writing in the MCU. So with Thor and trying to get this hammer, they build it up so much. We're like, oh my days, yes, go on son, you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. And then he just doesn't do it. And he's like, oh. And the slow-mo of the rain falling down his face, that's such a good touch. Very good touch, very good touch. The scene with Thor and Jane, where he's explaining how he comes from somewhere where magic and science are one in the same, and then he explains how like the 9 realms work in the like tree of, I want to say the tree of life, but I feel like that's wrong. But he draws it out, and then I just think that's a really like beautiful scene, like a really pretty, like, oh, this is a nice tone, you know. But then you know that something else is going to happen. But it's a really, like, you see a better, like a nicer side of both of Thor and then his sort of relationship with Jane. Oh, it's just sweet. I like it. So Lady Sif and the Warriors 3, good friends. They're good friends, you know. And Heimdall, being the bad bitch he is, does not care about Loki's charge, so he helps them get down to earth. And I love that everyone in New Mexico, they show the 4 of them rocking up, and everyone is like walking and they're like hoomst. And the fact that someone's like, is there a Renaissance fair on, or what's going on? Iconic. But also with that, when S.H.I.E.L.D. go to like the Bifrost markings from where they've appeared, and then the Destroyer appears, the fact that initially they're like, is that one of Stark's, really is just incredible. We love a good little link to like, we're part of a wider universe, but it's just the comedic timing. Do you know what? Comedic timing is everything, and that gets it. The actual Destroyer, you know, destroying the town is absolute scenes. Like, we love to see it. I've said it before in this video, I love a good fight scene. I don't know what it is, but like, it's what I want. And you know, the Destroyer provides. Also, like, the bit that gets me with this like ending bit with the Destroyer is when Thor sends everyone away to safety. He knows he's got no powers, like, my man's is down on his godliness. It's like his slow-mo walk into the fight, he's got no armor, he's got nothing, and the way he's like speaking, but like it's not shouting, it's just Loki. Like, he's speaking to Loki to try and be like, this is between us, like, what are you doing? Just spare them. And like talk everything down and everything. It's just something else. But then also the way that Loki's being a little bitch and he still like smacks Thor on and you're like, oh shit. Like, man down. They're like, oh my god, he's dead. This boy's dead, man. He do be dead. But then, oh my gosh. The big lightning, like, everything happens and he's like, gets the hammer and then he gets all of his armor magically put on him and it's just, ooh, it's so kick-ass. We love to see it. And then, like, you know, that whole final fight with the destroyer was just kick-ass, like in the hurricane thing and just, oh. I feel like Loki's character throughout this whole film keeps you on your toes. One minute you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what he's doing and what he's about. And then the next minute, he's flipping double-crossing Laufey and he's like, you will die at the hands of a son of Odin. And it's like, oh, whoa, what's going on? Like, what? Who? Where? And it's like, you're having a moment. You're like, oh my gosh, yes, he's embracing being an Odin son. But no, he's just doing that to be a sneaky little boy. But yeah, he's still messed up. And it's kind of heartbreaking. But it's difficult because you know he's doing all of this to destroy Thor because he feels slighted because they were never treated the same. But at the same time, it's like, bro, it's how it is in the royal families, you know? Like, the oldest kid is always going to be the heir to the throne. And the second kid just vibes. Thor and Loki's final fight is such a head spinner. Like, especially when Loki's then gets his magic involved and there's suddenly just loads of him and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? Like, who do I fight? Who do I fight? But then Thor, you know, gets it because he's used to the magic. So I feel like he's got his strategies. And then, like, it's so many emotions in such quick succession because, like, he's breaking the bridge and Loki's like, you'll never see her again, blah blah blah, talking about Jane because, you know, he's breaking the bridge so they won't be able to get to Earth. And then they fall and then you're like, oh my god, and then Odin catches them and you're like, oh yes, go on. And then they're like, oh father, like, my son, and it's like, I did it for you. And Odin's like, no, Loki. And Loki, being the dramatic little boy, like little bitch boy that he is, just lets go. And you're like, I prefer. The final pan of Asgard and then through the feast where everyone's celebrating and it's like, yeah, everything's back to normal. But, like, you can also tell that it's not because, like, Loki's not there and the vibe's just a bit off. Like, it's just one of those scenes where you're like, oh, this is a really nice ending, but there's obviously, like, missing. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, you know? And the final words that are, like, passed between Thor and Odin are very good. Like, they do show sort of the character development, even though Odin's, like, asleep for the entire film. But it is a good parallel to how they were near the start of the film, where they, just before, like, Thor gets banished, where they're just fully insulting each other. And then they're like, oh, like, they're respectful of each other, and it's like, Thor's like, I'm gonna make you proud, and then Odin's like, I was always proud of you. Like, the film goes full circle. Marvel have such a good, like, knack of making the films go full circle. And I do enjoy that aspect. It's a nice ending. Like, you feel fulfilled. You're not really let down by anything at this point. It's just nice. That's been my thoughts, feelings, vibes for the 2011 film Thor. So, on to the ratings for it. I think, okay, with this film, I'm gonna give it, I can get behind it, because it's, I don't know how to, it's really not my favourite film in the MCU. It's just general, like, it's an okay film, it's a good film, it gives you an origin of Thor, it gives you, like, some background on Loki, because, you know, he's gonna come back later, and it's like, it's difficult because, and it might just be me, it has good parts, but when I think of the film overall, I think it's quite boring. But again, I am me, and you might feel different. I know my dad does, he likes Thor. but I just personally, it doesn't fulfill all my needs. And then I also found that it's hard to give it extras because all of my extra awards are quite like, are really, really positive, but when looking through them, I was like, didn't feel too much like they reflected my thoughts on Thor. So I know in the last video I made a new award, so I'm going to give that one. So it's A Whole New World, because it very much does, you know, introduce a whole new world, Asgard. And I do very much like Asgard, like the whole aesthetic, the whole way they show it, like they do that very well. So, you know, it gets points for that. So it gets A Whole New World. And then I'm only going to give it one more, and this one is also a brand new one, like brand new for this one. And I've called it Fight Me, okay? It sounds like I'm asking you to fight me on my opinion, but I'm not. I'm saying it has very good fight scenes in, and I kind of wish I'd thought of this one sooner, but you know, I've thought of it now. It could be used in the future, but you know, Thor gets Fight Me because it fulfills a lot of the fighting needs of films that I enjoy, you know? Yeah. So if you enjoyed this video, you know, let me know. Let me know your thoughts on Thor. Who's your favourite character in the MCU? I want to know. I want to know. Don't know what I'll be doing next week, but, you know, it'll be something. See you in the next one. Bye. I'll be back. The Norse mythologies. After this. That's a plane.